Welcome to the Estate Professionals Mastermind podcast, a podcasting community by estate professionals for estate professionals, where we share the ideas and the access to people that help you work less, earn more, and do good in your community. If you get value in this free content, be sure to check out estateprofessionalsmastermind.com, where you can get live classes, access to weekly coaching, and free courses. To learn more, you can visit estateprofessionalsmastermind.com. Let's jump into this week's episode.
Welcome to our Tuesday Probate Mastery real estate brokerage coaching program. We get together every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time, and all times in between and after, to help implement and work together on building our probate real estate business. Nothing wrong with investors. Love to have you on here, but the focus here is how to be more effective at listing and selling real estate, and I would say in particular, getting probate listings for real estate agents and brokers. I'm Bill Gross. I'm a real estate broker in Los Angeles, California. My basic business is I list property. I took a listing yesterday, working on one today. It's closed 2 this month, 1 last month. I'm in the business of listing and selling business. My lead generation is all 100% based in probate. And I built that business based on Chad Corbett's Probate Mastery program. Chad was coaching at another company then, but now has built his own company and probatemastery.com. And he offers a free lifestyle career design program if you want to get started, learn about him, about his system, methodologies. Great program for free. And then if you want to get certified, there's the Step 2 Probate Mastery certification course, which is, I forget the number of hours, but it's a very detailed program, more involved than any other coaching programs in probate that I've been through. And I've taken, I think, 4 or 5 of them so far. I would take any one that I found that was valuable. And there's an EARN program, which is Earn Attorney Relationships Now. Earn Attorney Referrals Now. How to get a flow of attorney referrals. Those are the programs that are offered through Probate Mastery. I'm not a coach. I'm not part of the company. I am a colleague. And when this training program was threatening to go on hiatus, I stepped up and said, hey, I'll host it because I need it. I need to share best practices. I need a network. I also get referrals. I literally got a listing this week from a real estate agent, not on this call, but something else they do, but from San Diego, who had a key relationship with a wealth manager that he wanted to make sure he kept. And rather than let them pick another realtor, they knew I was an expert. And I'm going to tell you that because of my relationship, I was able to get that listing and impress the wealth manager. Associated with the program is the Estate Professionals Mastermind group, which is a 6,000 plus member group nationwide that's free. If you're a member of this call, love to have you join in there and participate. And then separately from Probate Mastery, I have my own program, probateweekly.com. Every Thursday, it's interview-based. This week, I'm going to have an attorney for Inherit Now, which is a probate advance company. So probateweekly.com, you can sign up there. We do it every week on Thursdays at 4 p.m. Pacific. And then I have my own Facebook group, Probate Weekly. We have 2,800 members and growing, where people ask questions and participate there. This call is meant to be participative. This is meant because we need to work together, improve, share, and grow together. So if you have questions, raise your hand in the chat box, or in your hand in the app, or put a question in the chat box, and I'd love to participate with you and make this as interactive as possible. Just for starters, though, in case I don't see any hands up yet, or I don't see any questions yet, since I have the floor, and I guess who's going to stop me? I was on Estate Mastermind, Estate Professionals Mastermind today, and the most relevant question, the most answered question was, I don't know who Samantha Moore is. I'd love to meet her. Where she says, hey, everybody, I have some great results here on Facebook ads. And so she's showing how she has Facebook leads, and the amount spent is a couple $100. Not sure how long that period that is. She says she's wasted money on leads, $5,000. That's a lot of money on leads. But with her, just a list, she had 49 leads. And that was, and it says close the deal, and a huge boost in page engagement. Now, I don't know if that's probate, real estate. I don't know if it's real or not. I reached out to her. I'd love to find out more. One thing I noticed is that this is by far the most commented post in the group. It had, 34 comments and 9 likes or engagements. So this got a lot of attention. I mean, the next post, which I thought was great also, we'll talk about that one from Jeremy, had 8 comments. And here's one from Jeff for consult with him. Probate leads. So, I don't know if anybody here has used Samantha Moore or the company she's part of. Love to hear about it. In general, more skeptical when people have leads systems, because in reality, my experience with Facebook ads is it's not really a lead as much as it's data. And then you got to convert it into becoming a lead. But I'm open-minded. I'd love to find out more about it. If anybody on this call knows anything about it and is able to share it, I'd love to have you share that. And I don't see anybody. Just going to wait here 1 second in case somebody wants to raise their hand. Anybody? No? Or any other question? Feel free to raise your hand. Okay, next topic I was going to talk about is the next most commonly engaged question on our Facebook group, which was Jeremy Williams asked, Jeremy, I don't know if you're on the call. He's trying to pick up traction with some calls and parties interested in listing. Quick question, are leads that are purchased from one of the many websites actual PRs, personal representatives, and executors? I seem to get a lot of pushback where people waiting on their court date, which is oftentimes 3 to 5 months beyond the initial filing. They have to wait to sell because they don't have to wait to sell unless there's some odd circumstances or don't have full authority. Is that correct? And he's talking about in California. So there's a lot to unpack there, but I think one of the things to understand is that when we buy data, you really want to know what they're getting the data from and what is it. Generally speaking, and we have a vendor that's a approved vendor with Probate Mastery, and I actually have an interview set with them tomorrow to learn more about them. But all the other companies that I've worked with, they call what they're selling leads. And I appreciate that. But as a salesperson, I would call it data. It's a name and an address, a phone number of somebody who might be interested in doing something with somebody. A lead is somebody who is looking to do something in some defined period of time. So when I was a real estate agent calling expired listings, a lead was somebody who's looking to sell their house the next 90 days or 30 days. You have a defined period of time. So what Jeremy found out was a couple of things. One is, what's the date of the data compared to the actual experience? And I think you'll find that it varies by jurisdiction and by county and by petition type. There's different petitions for different things. In Los Angeles, today, if you file to become the executor or administrator of a will, or administrator of an estate, you're going to get a court date most likely in about 35 days. It might be as much as 60, depending on which division you're assigned to, but usually about 35 days, which means that if you got the data that day, they don't have the authority to sign a contract and bind it legally for 35 days or so. The problem is that many times they don't get the authority granted at the first hearing or second hearing. I have a case where, referred to me by an agent, again, out of San Diego, the attorney didn't know what they're doing and didn't get the paperwork done in time. And the judge continued the case from March until August. We filed in January, hearing date in March. And in this particular court, they're pretty penalty driven. If you have your paperwork right, they'll continue, but they're going to make you wait so they can get other people who are ready to go done. So if you have that lead, technically they don't have the letters of authority still from January through August. Then, once the hearing date comes, when they get the letters of authority in California, in Los Angeles County, the judge doesn't sign it that day. You submit the letters of authority, and then you wait for the judge to sign it. But you also need to have your bond ready to go. So what happens is sometimes people don't have the bond ready to go. They get the verbal in court that day. Then they apply for the bond, and that can take a day, a week. I've had customers take months not filling out the paperwork. And they get the paperwork and then submit. They don't know they need to submit to the judge to get the formal letters. So that's why some of these take months and months and months. You go, what the heck's going on? The answer is, if they don't get the number one, there's a filing date, and then there's a court hearing date to approve them, or a court process to approve them. Second is then the judge has to sign it. Now, in some jurisdictions, if you don't need a bond, like I know in San Bernardino, I've heard cases where the attorney just hands the letters form to the judge signs it, or the clerk fills it out for the attorney, and the judge signs it. So there's jurisdictions that move that quickly. In others, like LA, it could be months and months and months and months and months and months and months. So it varies. So the data you're calling on, they may or may not be authorized. Now, if you're in California, I'm going to go a little deep in the woods here. Well, I don't know, is that enough information? I should go a little deeper. I have some glazed over looks, people looking down. I don't know. I don't mean to bore you guys. I'm available to answer questions. So hopefully, Jeremy, I gave a little more deep dive on your question there. And I did go online to answer the question as well. More information is better. Okay. So what I will say in California, technically, the contract's not valid until you have signed letters. And their attorneys are very particular about that. Other ones say, well, when the judge approved you, you can sign the contract, it's binding. It's just that you don't have the form that the banks want, but we know that you've been approved by the judge. The judge approved you verbally in court. So some attorneys will have me sign the contract as soon as they get the verbal in court. Others, the official training in California by Paul Horn, the CAR, California Association of Realtor Training, says you can even sign the contract before, as long as you disclose it's not binding. All parties acknowledge that. And then you can list it as long as you, according to some MLSs, as long as you acknowledge in the MLS that the subject to the state getting letters and the hearing date information and so on. That depends on your broker, what your broker allows you to do or not to do, and depends on the customer and on the attorney. But I would say that you go anywhere from, you could sign today and not have your letters for 6 months. I've had that happen. And other ones who don't want you to sign for 6 months. And meanwhile, 10 million people are sending them emails and mails and phone calls. I have a case where I'm a petitioner and I'm collecting all the mail. It's amazing the mail you get from people. I'm gonna do a full report on that down the road. Okay, so there you go. That's my coverage on getting letters. Any questions on that? No? I'm also want to just kind of mention in passing, we have a new vendor who's been with us for a while, U.S. Probate Leads. And Jeff Sweet is the National Sales Director, and they have a discount if you participate. And you are welcome to contact him directly or set an appointment, and he will set you up with what it will cost for you to use their leads in your area. So one thing also I should say is some leads, data is available in some areas, not all. Different providers have some areas, not all. Some have all. I think US Probate Data is one of them. And there's different costs based on your county and how many pieces of data there are. So definitely worth looking into. That's something that's important to you. Okay. This is meant to be coaching. It's meant to be participative. I'm here to help. I can share with you what I'm doing or answer your questions. How can I help you guys? Anybody? No? You guys all have it all together?
There's a comment.
Comment, go ahead. Oh, there is a comment. Okay, thank you. Wanted to share a big screw up. Terry, if you want to, I can unmute you. You can share it verbally if you want. Yeah.
Yeah, this guy's a total crook. He convinced the PR that it would be cheaper and faster to not get a guardian for the 14-year-old who was the sole inheritor for the estate. And I didn't know it because I didn't know that the son was not married to the mother of the inheritor. So when we opened the door to the title company, they blew it off. So we're not going to do a deal where the only person inheriting is a minor and has no guardian. And then the attorney went the next step and lied to the PR because the PR had refused to fix up a place. That was during a really hot time, just before the interest rates went up and up and up. And she said, I'm not going to touch anything. I'm not going to pay. I'm not going to fix the carpet. I'm not doing anything. So it dragged on forever and ever. And then he told the PR, oh, he can't renew his listing because it's limited. And I wrote the PR and I said, no. He's going with the wrong legal. He's going with a court approved legal, not the full authority legal. And I lost the damn deal. I lost 20K on the deal, to tell you the truth. So be aware that some of these attorneys are crooks.
Well, and that may be part of it. And also, I would say even the ones who aren't crooks, 90% haven't done a probate in the last year. And so they don't really know what they're doing. It's amazing to me, the basic fundamental things I have to correct attorneys on, that I'm not going to correct them on understanding how to apply the law, but I can read English, I can read the forms, and I've been through enough of these now that I have samples I give attorneys, say, well, here's how we did it on this one. And so I think that's our opportunity here, is to learn these processes so we can get the confidence of the customer when they're not getting one from the attorney to maybe apply it to a different attorney.
What this attorney was going to do, he was going to lie to the court. He was going to give a 15-day back out period, which I virtually never use. I go right to the heirs and I get approval immediately. I don't wait 15 days for him to say no. But he was going to wait the 15 days and then just submit it to the court as though it had been not disapproved, which is kind of true, since there was nobody to not disapprove it. Yeah.
Well, hold it. With the 15 days notice, though, you have to notice people. I mean, you have to send them to their address of record that document. So you're saying he really didn't send it out, but represented that he did?
There was nobody to send it to. There was only a 14-year-old. That was the only heir.
Yeah, theoretically, he can object. I mean,
He could lie.
He can object. I mean, he has to mail it to the 14-year-old. At a minimum, he has to notice him.
Yeah, he was probably snowed by the whole deal too. So there was really nobody to say no. And he was just going to wait 15 days and then present it to the court and, pat himself on the chest how wonderful he saved money and time for it was a grandmother. What it was, the husband and the mother, they were common law. They were not married. So I didn't even realize that there was no mother of record for the child. But I'll tell you what, one time, and I learned.
Yeah, those are difficult circumstances. I think sometimes I've been involved with cases where I've sent emails to the probate attorney. And I've been in cases where I've spoke to the judge and point out something that was dishonest going on. Those are difficult to do, though. It takes a lot of courage and time and effort and energy as well. So, well, thanks for sharing that. That definitely.
Yeah, by the way, I had a 15-day all cash sale that he blew off. That all we had to do is open title report,
Right.
15 days.
Wow.
And blew it off. And by the way, they got 120,000 less for the property about 3 months later.
Right.
Rates had continued to climb and so on and so forth.
Right.
So he cost the heir 120,000 from what I brought, and what I brought had already dropped 20,000 from when the market was hot.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's why we would be experts. Thank you for sharing that, Terry. Thank you so much. I have got a new listing. It was interesting because I had an agent friend of mine, not from this call, but from another call, who referred me. And then I talked to the wealth management person. And like a lot of people, we refer out to 3 people and I give them your name and number. And we'll see if he calls you. So the customer called me. And I said, and we're talking about the case. There's a case where there's an heir. And then there's some other family members who might object. He didn't know if they would or not. His attorney was unsure. And I said, well, let me help you here. I said, because one of the other realtors was going to go out to the house the following week and make a proposal for staging and improvements. And I said to him, the longer this sits, the more likely it is the other people decide to object. It's just the nature of human beings. The longer it sits there, something may trigger them to feel jealous or resentful and say, that SOB, I deserve half of that property. Let's object to the sale. And that's all it takes to undermine the whole thing. And I said, if you want to sell this, and he just, it's a vacant condo. There's not much really to argue about the price. It is what it is. It's going to sell for what it's going to sell for. It's not like something where I'm going to pretend as though by cooking by baking cookies in the oven, it's going to sell for $50,000 more. We're not going to play that game. I said to him, none of that really changes much, but here's what I can tell you. If you say, yes, I can have this listed in an hour, and we could be holding open houses this weekend, probably an escrow next week, and the clock starts when we get into escrow and clear contingencies faster than this other real estate company even will stop, blowing smoke at you about how great they are. And so the biggest challenge you have here, the biggest risk you have that will affect your income one way or the other, is the time it takes to get this sale noticed to any potential objectors, and the 15 days passes so you can close escrow. And he goes, wow, you really know your stuff. You're really the agent we want to have represent us. And I got the listing. I haven't been to the property yet. The other, I get asked all the time from agents, can I see your listing package, your pre-listing package? I don't even have one. Basically, I just say, look, if you want me to list, I'd love to help you. If you don't, that's okay. I'm busy. Glad to help you. And by the way, if you list with somebody else, call me when you have questions. I'm glad to help you. But when you're good and you're helping people create value, and Terry talked about some things there that most real estate agents don't know about, when you can have that level of discussion with the attorney and or the prospect, you're at a different level than the realtors who take a class, not as detailed as Probate Mastery, because it's cheaper. Probate Mastery, I think, is $500. I think you can take some of these other ones for $100, $150, and they're only 2 or 3 hours. Well, you get what you pay for, and you learn what you put the time in to learn. And the other courses are all about how to cold call and scripts, not about how to create value for the customer, the harder work. But when you do that harder work, you become the expert, you earn the business. There's no competition, or there's less competition, a lot less. Khalid asked me a question. Khalid, I think, did you ask this question last week as well? Or was that my imagination? Somebody else did. You not. First time on the call? Have you been here before?
Hey, how you doing, Bill? My name is Khalid from Essex County, out of Essex County, New Jersey, East Coast CPE. I've been on this call before. I didn't ask this question last week, but I was just building on a comment that you made. You were asking, like, what would we like to hear more about? And I think it'll just be helpful to, people on the call who may be new, or people who aren't new, just to hear about what you do as somebody who is an expert on the West Coast and has been doing this and seem like you have it down pat. Of course, you're open to learning every day, but you kind of got it to a certain science, and you got it to a certain point.
Well, I don't have it down pat. I work at it every day to get better at it. I'm on this call to learn from you all what I can do better. And so how do I do that? I share what I do, and hopefully you guys share what you do. But so thank you for the kind words. Khalid, you said.
Khalid, yes.
Khalid. So, so the question in the chat box was about my daily schedule. I was going to share it, but I live on my calendar. So I can't help, but I was looking for a day that didn't have anything private on there that I didn't want to share, customers' names and prospects' names, that kind of stuff. So I don't have a day to show you and to share, this is what my calendar looks like. But I'll just tell you that if I could share, for example, I'm booked with activities today from 9 to 5. 5:30, I have a dinner with a friend of mine. And so what I'll just say basically is from 8 to 9 is usually administrative work, emails, documents, forms, follow-up. Do they sign? Do they not sign? MLS changes or whatever. 9 to 12 is business generation. So that means normally I'm calling people, following up on leads, calling my referral sources, checking in with attorneys, checking in with people who can refer me business, following up with people who can, or interviewing people, starting the business development process. So one of my main lead generation is interviewing people who can refer me business. So the attorneys, vendors, other agents. I'm building a national platform of agents because I want to build a referral network nationwide. A little different business than yours. I'm trying to expand out geographically. So that's part of my focus. Full disclosure is a little different, but 9 to 12 is business generation time. And so is this business generation for me? Yeah, because I get referrals from people who I talk to. We've got on this call right now 30 people, and my goal is to get referrals from some of you. I get a couple of years, so it makes it worthwhile for me. So 9 to 12 is a business generation time. 12 to 1, I exercise, either swim or walk. And lunch 1 to 1:30, and then 1:30 to 5 is usually there's appointments set. I find other people always want to meet me in the afternoon. So I have different interviews, appointments, team appointments, follow-up, that kind of thing. I host myself one event a month. It's a networking event. I co-host with a couple team members, a live event once a month. I co-host with a real estate company, an event. So 3 days a month, I am host or co-hosting an after-hours event. And I'll just share with you, I'm a little older than you, so I have to kind of pace myself. So when I'm going to host an event, like on Thursday from 6 to 8, I'll take off 2 hours in the afternoon and have some extra personal time, either exercise or hang out with my wife or do something, because I just don't want to work more than 8 hours a day. I have to be a little careful with my energy at my age. Does that help a little bit?
That helps a great bit. I wrote everything you said down, and yeah, I appreciate it. And I think it's just important just to spell it out, because obviously, you know, people's lives are going to be different, but it's always good to hear an example of a framework to bring it into your own business, and kind of like, because people need to be told what to do. We know that we deal with people. So it's always here. It's always good to hear that from somebody who's in the business and understands what's going on.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. I think that the thing I always tell people is you need to design the business for you. I designed my business for me. You know, for example, I don't want to go anywhere. My daughter lives 4 blocks away. We have a grandson who's going to be 2 in August, and she's pregnant, please God, with our second grandson in August as well. She comes by at 4:30 in the afternoon and wants to put my grandson in my arms. I want to be here. I don't want to be out at a meeting. People ask me out to lunch. Well, I need to exercise. That's my lunch. That's my exercise slot for lunch at noon, because it's nice and sunny in California. That's when I want to exercise. It's just nice. You might say, well, Bill, aren't you being a little lazy or selfish? Well, yeah, but you know, I work to support my life. I don't want to work and ruin my life. And so I enjoy swimming at noon or walking at noon. That's how I designed my life. I started, but you have to have that 3-hour block. I started going to court every day. When I first took Probate Mastery, in the course of the training, he challenged us to go to court once. And when I went there, I saw in my county, now everyone's different, an opportunity where I could go lead generate there for 3 hours a day. I put on a suit and tie. I drove to court. It's about a half-hour drive from me to LA County Court. Go buy a cup of coffee. It was air conditioned, and it had a secure environment with the sheriffs around. So it was a great place to work. And I would be there every day from 7:45 to 10:45. And my goal was to get 1.5 contacts, meaning I would meet somebody who give me their name, address, phone number, and email every day. If I did that 5 days a week, my numbers all worked out. So again, it's a 3-hour block. I think you have to do business development, whether you door knock, cold call, go to court, network, whatever you're going to do. You have to have that block of time of your 8-hour day. About 3 hours should be on business development. And if you do that, you always have some leads coming in where you don't have to take business you shouldn't, because you have enough coming in that you can rely on. So that's one of my business tenets, has been my whole career.
Thanks, Bill. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Claude. Thank you so much. Nice meeting you, and nice having the call. So I got a question here from Terry, who we just had on. He asked about vendors. So one of the sources of business that I've developed is the vendors in a probate case. So who are vendors? Well, I refer business to attorneys, but I refer business to attorney services that customers use in lieu of attorneys to save money. And so because I refer them business, I look to get referrals back. In the course of probate, customers need oftentimes probate bonds. And so I both refer out and help customers get bonds, as well as solicit the bond companies for referrals. Many customers need or would benefit from an advance in their inheritance. I actually built my own inheritance advance company because I just found the services they gave me weren't good enough. And so I actually get in the lead, pre-qualify, kind of like a broker, and then broker it to an advance company, but then they refer me back business as well. Sometimes we use inheritance research companies. And so where you're looking for other heirs. And I both refer business to them, and I've gotten a couple referrals from inheritance research companies. Commercial banks, if you have blocked accounts, there's certain banks that do those, certain ones that don't. Went to coffee with one of those bankers and working on getting some business from them, hopefully. So Terry says, well, California Advanced Company, Advanced Arizona, absolutely, 100%. Be glad to help you with that. Send me the information. I'd be more glad to help you with that. So my feeling, and I've been trying to get referrals from my title company over my career. I've been in this business now 4 years. I've closed over 100 transactions in probate, and I've never gotten one referral from a title rep or an escrow rep. And they all talk about how they're going to help me with my business. So I'd love to find a title rep who wants to build a business nationally in probate to help market. And I feel like, well, if you're not going to give me business, at least help me build a platform. And so I'm amazed how hard it is to find people who do that. But I market anybody who's in the business who might be able to refer me business. I'm on estate sales companies, private investigators. So I do my best to. Funeral companies could be. I interviewed a funeral company. I wanted to promote them, but their company wouldn't let them. Forest Lawn here in Los Angeles, the biggest company, and their company wouldn't let the rep do a video with me. So that's unfortunate. But yeah, I think funeral companies are a good one. And there's a service I've used where they notify when somebody has passed, how they notify all the vendors and mail and banks and all that kind of stuff. And that ties in with funeral companies. I'd love to connect with funeral companies. I think, again, from a point of creating value for them and, and their customers, rather than avoiding getting a bad real estate agent, can work with me instead. So yeah, so anyhow, those are vendors. There's a whole list of them. I've often thought about my fantasy has been to create Probate Con, have like a convention, invite all the vendors to come in and kind of describe all the different ways that people touch this business. And obviously senior care, adult facilities. I've interviewed agents who did that. The Probate Nurse, I know she's on the call here, but that's a whole nother source of business. So anybody who can refer me business, that's who I talk to from 9 to 12. So those are vendors. Okay, good. Any other questions, comments, challenges? Excuse me, victories you want to share? Or the agony of defeat? Anybody want to share any? Assisted living, absolutely. I interviewed an assisted living executive. It's really interesting. I think that most people in business see themselves as a technician, not as a business. What do I mean by that? I think attorneys see themselves as legal machines, not as a business that gives a service called legal services. And assisted living, I think they see themselves as a technical provider of senior living, not a business whose service is helping seniors and families transition. Because if you're in business, you realize you need to generate business. And so it's often difficult to get various businesses to think about referring you business. They're not used to it. But it makes sense. To me, it makes a lot of sense that, if I'm a senior living center, why would I not want all my families to have estate plans in place for an early transition of assets rather than allow them to go through probate and have legal fees and fights, and that can end up badly. So yeah, anybody who affects somebody at the end of their life would be, banks, wealth managers, accountants, all those people. I mean, I can go through a whole list. I'm just sharing the ones that I've talked to, but I have interviewed assisted living executives, owner of a company, owner of a couple companies, actually. Okay, Terry Hunter, thank you. And I see we have a special guest, a new person from the Larry Smith Group family. Is one of the key members of that team. I don't think I've met Bill,
how
can I help Thee?
I tried to slip that by you, but you're too sharp. I thought you'd get a kick out of that.
Larry Smith Group, as opposed to, yeah. So if you follow college football, there's the Ohio State University. There's the U was the original one. They were talking about their school, and then it became the Ohio State University. The Larry Smith Group. What's up, Larry?
Hey, I wanted to share. I kind of got several I could share with you. I thought it was kind of an interesting. I went out and met an executor this past Saturday. Now, you'll appreciate this because I first made contact 10 months ago. And
Nice.
periodically, I've just checked in to say, hey, I looked at the court record. This is what I saw going on, which oddly enough, she appreciated because her own attorney wasn't telling her what was going on. And this was just free information that I could share. So even if I didn't reach her, I would just leave her a message, say, hey, this is Larry again, just letting you know, I looked at your court case. It didn't look like it's moving very fast. This is what I saw. And invariably, she would reach back out to me and we would have a quick call, nothing. And then a week ago, she contacted me. She goes, okay, I'm ready to meet you. And I said, fantastic. We met at the house. And as I was driving over there, she shared with me, she's very frustrated. It was her sister's. She doesn't have time for it. The house was not in great condition. And so I started thinking, I go, well, maybe this will be that one that I'll just go ahead and buy it. Maybe that's the way to go with it because I know she's sick of it and she just wants to be done with it. So, but when I got over there, I thought, you know what, before I do that, why don't I just step back and just make sure I make a friend, make a connection, because I've never met her, and let her tell me about her sister and tell me about the relationship and all what's going on. And I did, and it slowed it way down. And then I just looked at her and I said, what would you like to see happen here? I mean, there's a lot of different ways I could help you, but what would you like? And she goes, to be honest with you, I'd like to take the money my sister left me. I would like to renovate it. And then I'd like to sell it on the market for full price. And I said, fantastic. I can help you do that. She goes, set it all up. She goes, you're my guy. But what was interesting about that, if I had went in with this mindset, I'm going to do this, rather than stepping back going, wait, what's best for her? What would she like to have? This is not my agenda. And just kind of doing that mental check again, making sure that I was putting their needs ahead of whatever I wanted. And it turned out great. We had we had already had a pretty good relationship going in, but that just really cemented it, and her telling me that. But that was really helpful from a mindset and an approach standpoint.
Well, it's so interesting you say that, because I think that too often we go in with a certain tool and we present it that way. And, there's occasions where that makes sense for the customer to improve the property. And certainly if the customer enjoys it, right? If they think that they're going to make more money and they're going to enjoy the process of adding value to the house maybe they grew up in or whatever, then by all means, you want to do that. I'm always very careful, and I want to ask questions. Why do you want to do that? What's behind it? And when somebody just says, well, it's just the money, there's no emotional attachment, I'll do my best to, as a professional, point out why that doesn't make sense. But occasionally there's customers who it was mom's house and they really want to sell for as much as possible because they grew up in it and they want to feel good about it. And they'll make money that they're not really that concerned about it, but they spend $50,000 and they get $45,000 more for it, or they spend $100,000 and get $90,000 more for it. They're happy. Well, our job is to make our customers happy. Our job is not to tell our customers they're right or wrong. Our job is to give customers what they want. You go to McDonald's and if you ask for a burger without pickles, they'll take the pickles off. There was a day they didn't do that because they want happy customers. And that's our job as an agent. And the flip side in your case is true, is if that's what they want to do, we should help them do that. So good for you. Good on you.
Yeah. And I think and that's a really good point, Bill. I think what will come out of this is that I will solicit some bids for the work, and then let that set in. And she may end up, selling the property as is, which is what I thought she should do. But she has some extra cash that she'd like to do. She did it before with her mother's house. And now at this point, her schedule has freed up and she feels more like taking it on. Whether she ends up doing that or not, that's not set yet. But I think the best way that I handled it was not to take one approach and go, this is the way you're going to do it, and let them come to that decision. They may end up doing it. They may end up wholesaling it for all I know, but not going in with an agenda other than to make a friend and to find out how you can best serve them, which is what I love about our approach and what we do. That I think really sets us apart, and it's really hard sometimes for people on that end to understand that there's somebody out there that's listening and that has several tools in their toolbox that they'd be able to apply for whatever their situation is and how they want to be helped.
Yeah,
and not have that one size fits all, and push them, a round peg into a square hole, that kind of thing.
It really frustrates me when I see real estate agents who are really sold on and use the idea of staging as their advantage. And they'll tell customers, they'll sell them on either this aspect or that. And the staging takes time to get the stuff in there, for one, and two, usually costs somebody money along the way. But I always say to the customer, what's the benefit to you? Is somebody really going to pay more for a house because there's furniture in it than is vacant? Are you really going to fool them to paying more for the property? And is that going to stick all the way through the end? Means they're going to appraise for more and they inspect the property and still feel good about that number? Or at some point you fool them in the beginning, they're emotionally caught up and they come back and go, well, gee, that house is worth $20,000 more than the other one. So why should we pay more when the appraisal comes in lower, the inspection comes in back or whatever? And so I just feel like there's two types of marketing. If you want to summarize two camps, you can put all marketing in one or two boxes. One box is it's easy to do, it just doesn't really work. It doesn't really work for the customer, it doesn't really work for the agent. And to me, staging is one where I've not seen any real data on it increasing value. Now, I would separate that from cleaning out a property, getting rid of, I had a property where somebody died in it. We spent $4,000 to remove the carpet in a couple of rooms and the drywall because the smell was so bad. To get the smell out cost $4,000. That's different to get it clean and decent to walk in. But I haven't seen anybody who's provide me any reliable data that suggests that spending money by putting in furniture fools buyers into paying more than the cost of the staging to the customer. So, but again, if that's what they want to fix it up or they feel good about it, then our job is to help them do that.
Yeah, and I think we'll see. You know what? I will probably give you an update on that.
I'd love it
as we roll along here.
Well, either you or somebody else on the Smith Group team. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah,
maybe Larry will come back.
Available.
Maybe Larry will come back, or one of the other guys in the team will come back. But it's great to have you,
The.
And your pronouns are the and the.
The. Hey, do you want to hear a?
Yes.
You want to hear a squatter issue?
Love it.
Yeah. So I got to tell you, when I first got in this almost a year ago, and Chad was talking about squatters and stuff like that, I go, what? I mean, people don't really do that, do they? And
yes,
it's like it's weird. It's weird. It's like in probate, it's like they're attracted to that, right?
Yeah.
So I have one in my own family right now. My aunt allowed a gentleman, if you will, to live in a fifth wheel on her farm, and she has since moved off it, and she never got a lease, and now they can't get him to leave, and we're trying to prep the property, get it ready for sale. So now she is having to hire an eviction attorney to evict him and go through a judicial eviction. It's just, you cannot, I've found that you cannot stress that enough. And there was no postings, there was no lease, no nothing. And I have now, this is the third time in the last 3 months I run into squatters. So that part of the course where Chad really, hits this about, posting and taking pictures and time dating stamping and changing the locks and all that stuff. It sounds like fluff, but it is real. And if anybody's not doing that or thought about doing that, they should do it, to be very thorough, because they're not doing it. I got another one that didn't insure the house, and they had a claim and didn't insure the house, because they wanted to save a few bucks, all on how it was paid for. But so all that stuff that Chad talks about in the probate classes are really important, and it does apply. But anyway, I thought I would tell you a little bit about squatters. It's crazy.
I've so active. I've interviewed probably 3 or 4 different eviction attorneys, different areas, different specialties. There's the paper mill eviction guy who'll get the paper out right away. And there's a more complicated case where you anticipate some sort of fight with the squatter or whoever. And I think this is another area that you can distinguish yourself. People generally find one attorney and say, "Oh, here's a great eviction attorney," but there's a range of services they provide, and especially in Los Angeles. I'm sure in Texas, you just walk in with a gun and tell them to leave. In LA,
that's our preferred method. That's how I do it.
In LA, we literally have free legal advice paid for by the city for squatters, right? We don't just have squatters and nonprofit legal help, but now we have the city paying them so they can have the full legal help. But that said, so anytime there's a problem area, it's worth learning how to solve the problem. Then you become an expert. And so too many real estate agents think flock from, "Oh my gosh, that's so difficult. You have squatters," where the right response should be, "Squatters, that sounds right up my alley. I have a whole Rolodex of attorneys I work with, and I'm familiar with the basics in that area." So thanks as always for sharing that with us, Dee. I appreciate your help. Okay, and if you've enjoyed Thee's input today, please put thanks, Thee. Make sure you capitalize this capital THE. We don't want to offend him anyway. He's a snowflake, so you have to be very careful how you refer to him. So feel free to thank Thee in the chat box if you find that appropriate. No, I'm sorry. Hey, no, you can't thank you. Hold it. What is that? Oh, thanks, Terry. Okay, that's from you. That's fine. I'll let that go. Okay. Nobody thanked Thee. I guess nobody really appreciates you besides me. Well, okay, I thank you, Thee. Thank you so much. Okay. Any other questions, comments? We're kind of right up to the end of the hour here. So if you have any, this is meant to be participative. I'd love to have you participate.
I have something, Bill.
Sure. Melanie, what's going on?
Something. Yeah. So I went to one of the Tampa RIA meetings about a month ago, and I met.
That was a Tampa RIA meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you said it so quick as how I thought you were at a tampon meeting. Like, what the heck is that?
Tampa RIA meeting. And I met, that's so funny. I met one of the lawyers there. He was a real estate lawyer, and he was talking about trusts and things like that. Anyway, come to find out, he was interested in what I'm doing, working with people in assisted living, but he was really interested in the probate and how, maybe we could work together. So we had a fantastic Zoom call last week. And through that, he said, "I really like what you're doing. And I'll tell you, I have 3 probate lawyers I'm going to hook you up with. I'm going to refer you over to them."
Wow.
And one is in Tampa, and then one is down, or 2 of them are actually in his office in Pinellas, St. Pete, which is huge. And they do a large volume. And then he also sent a referral over to a gentleman who's director of philanthropy for one of the largest hospice groups here in Tampa.
Wow.
And we're meeting for coffee tomorrow morning. They're both extremely interested in what I have to do and how I can help them in their business, because my whole, presentation with them was really about what I can do to help them in their business and, to move cases forward. And after he gave the referral to this director of philanthropy, he said to me, "I want to be a CPE." And he's a real estate lawyer. So that is awesome. And that's my win for the week. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Melanie, thank you for sharing that. I think, what was the trigger? You went to an RIA, but I'm guessing that at the event, you introduced yourself. How did you introduce yourself? Do you remember?
Yeah. So this one in particular, we do it monthly, and it's at like a Joe's Crab Shack. It's very informal in a back room. And my mentor is the person who runs that particular, monthly meeting. So he was actually, when I walked in, Josh was sitting with my mentor, Jim. And I just walked right over to him, and Jim said, "Hey, this is Melanie." And I said, "Hi, I'm the probate nurse." And he just kind of looked at me and said, "Well, what do you do?" And I told him briefly, and I said, "I would love to have a meeting with you." So he gave me his card, and that's pretty much how it went. And I followed up immediately when I got home from that introduction.
And I think so many real estate agents introduce themselves as, I'm a real estate agent. I do this, and that. When you say you're a probate nurse, it kind of probate. And if you're not interested, okay, great. They're not interested. You're not going to do business. But if they're interested, you got their attention, right?
I did. And the biggest thing on this too is that he is like 20% owner of a title company that does massive volume, massive. So
Wow.
He's really excited. And I am too, actually. I want to see where this goes.
Fantastic. Good for you.
Yeah.
I'd love to interview somebody in Florida, any attorney on my Probate Weekly, to do an interview with them. So if if it helps you, I'd be glad to help promote them, my YouTube channel and such. So you know how to get hold of me if you're interested in that.
Yeah, sure. He's actually very interested in the interview. So I will set it up.
Thanks, Melanie.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Wow, it's fantastic. The Probate Nurse. That's capital THE. Probate Nurse, same first name as the from the Larry Smith Group by coincidence. The Probate Nurse and the Larry Smith Group. Okay, guys. Hey, I think that's it. Unless we have Terry says, do you think there might be probate nurses or associations in Arizona? Terry, there should be. There should be a probate nurse in every state. In fact, I talked to Melanie about maybe building a national platform of probate nurses. I think that's an amazing opportunity to fit that niche around the country. It's great branding, and I think it combines her unique experience as a nurse with probate, and obviously to a customer, it's going to sound like a different approach, and in her case, it is. So you have to deliver that value proposition, but it certainly speaks to it. Okay, any other questions, comments, challenges before we wrap up here today? I think I need to get my notes over here. Okay, I think we're going to call it a day. Let me just share real quick where we're from. Probate Mastery is the basic program that this comes from, Chad Corbett's Probate Mastery. And if you go to probatemastery.com, there's a free program, Lifestyle Career Design. Who here besides me has taken that? And anybody have any value or anything you want to say about the lifestyle program? If you do, put it in the chat box. I'd love to hear any comments on that. And then the second paid program is Probate Mastery Certification Course, where you become a certified probate expert, a CPE. You've heard people mention that or see that in their name. And it's really very detailed, on demand, the most comprehensive probate program, I believe, in the country. And then the people on this call are graduates of that program or participants of the program. And then third is Earn, the Earn course, Earn Attorney Referrals Now. If you want to focus specifically on attorneys, the program, I'm actually one of the providers or one of the teachers in that program, as an additional program to get additional business through attorneys. Love to have you continue the conversation on Facebook. Go to our Estate Professionals Mastermind Facebook group. Love to have your questions, comments there, and participate. And then I separately host my own probateweekly.com every week, Thursdays, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. That's basically an interview program. This week I'll have an attorney from Inherit Now, which is a probate advance company. And Teddy Lim got both for Father's Day, so very good. Congratulations, Teddy. Welcome to the program. And then I have a Facebook group as well, Probate Weekly on Facebook, and love to have you come there. Feel free to promote any probate-related content on my group. If you have a video about your probate business, love to have it on my group. If you have a YouTube, link to it or program, feel free to use the reach of my group to help you build your business, as long as it's probate-related content. Okay, guys, that's it. I'm Bill Gross. You can find me on social media at Bill Gross Probate across the country. Call, text, or email if I can help in any way. Thanks, guys, and have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.